This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X-Zone Broadcast Network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365.
Welcome back, everyone. My name is Rob McConnell. This is the X-Zone on the Talkstar Radio Network and on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, being broadcast around the world on our family of affiliates right across Canada, the United States, Central America, the Caribbean, South America, the Pacific Rim, Australia, Asia, India, Africa, and Europe. If you'd like to give us a call, toll-free, 1-800-610-7035. That's toll-free, worldwide, 1-800-610-7035. My email address, xzone@xzoneradiotv.com. On MSN Messenger, xzoneradiotv@hotmail.com. And our website, www.xzoneradiotv.com. My guest this hour, X-Zone Nation, is Pablo Solomon. We're going to be talking about art and mysticism. Now, since 1988, Pablo has lived on his historic 1856 ranch in the Texas Hills country with his wife and creative inspiration, Beverly. Before acting as Pablo's business manager and muse, Beverly worked as a model and then in sales and marketing for Dion von Furstenberg, Revlon, and Ralph Lauren. Pablo's art has led him to such adventures as having a bit of part in a Latin soap opera and being a founding teacher at the Houston Contemporary Dance Theater. Pablo has traveled and studied extensively. He speaks 5 languages and is a Zen master of the Zen arts. Joining me now is Pablo Solomon. Pablo, welcome to the X-Zone. Great having you with us.
Great to be with you, Rob.
Tell me a little bit about your adventure with Zen arts.
Well, you know, Rob, that's a great story. I grew up in a multicultural home in some of the poorest neighborhoods in Houston, Texas. Mm-hmm. And you can imagine being a skinny, sickly kid who loved art. Mm-hmm. I was the target of bullies growing up. Well, I was lucky that when I was 12 years old, a guy that had been stationed with the U.S. military in Japan had just gotten back home, and he'd studied jiu-jitsu while he was there, and he got me interested. And so starting at 12 years old, I got involved in Japanese martial arts of one sort or another, and over the years, a number of other martial arts. But that led to my studying a lot of Japanese art, Japanese flower arranging, a whole series of things which instilled in me this love for the simplicity of line, the simplicity of form that you see so often in Japanese woodcuts and so forth.
You know, Pablo, I've got an expression. It's my favorite saying that life is simple. Humanity complicates it.
Gosh, we share that. Let me share this with your listeners real quick. One of the greatest discoveries I ever made in my life, and I'm sure out there among the people listening to you, many, many more have made the same discovery, is that, yes, life is simple if you can break it down into its components. The most complicated thing there is, if you understand the simple basics you can understand it. And I always, as an artist, I use this example. You can take the most amazing mixture of colors or the most varied number of tones of whatever color you name, but deep down you know it's made of the three primary colors.
That's right.
And if you can understand that about human behavior, about politics, about money, about anything, if you can break it down to those just absolute primary basics and get to the root of it, you can understand anything, and you can make the most complex relatively simple.
Pablo, you and I have to take a commercial break. Please stand by. Exonation, Pablo Solomon is my very special guest this hour. We're going to be talking about art and mysticism as the X-Zone continues on the Talkstar Radio Network and the X-Zone Broadcast Network. Toll free worldwide, 1-800-610-7035. Email xzone@xzoneradiotv.com. To find out more about Pablo Solomon, visit his website, www.pablosolomon.com. We'll be back on the other side of this break. Don't go away.
Take a step back in time and discover old Florida cuisine at Marsh Landing Restaurant in Fellsmere. Enjoy delicacies such as frog legs, gator tail, catfish, and swamp cabbage, or enjoy the more traditional cuisine like hand-cut Angus steaks, ribs, and seafood. Join us for breakfast with a southern flair featuring sweet potato pancakes, biscuits and gravy, and much more. Planning a party? Marsh Landing's private dining room can accommodate groups from 8 to 80 people. While you're visiting, enjoy the historic pictures, artifacts, and stories that line the walls. Marsh Landing is truly a unique experience. Marsh Landing Restaurant, 44 North Broadway in historic Fellsmere, or visit marshlandingrestaurant.com. Marsh Landing, Old Florida cuisine at its best.
Are you interested in the paranormal, ghosts, UFOs, or psychic phenomenon? Join me, Tim Bartley, co-host of Talking to Spirits with Lightworkers Tim and Justina, coming mid-January 2017 to the XZBN. We will channel spirits live and talk to them, revealing all kinds of amazing information. Spiritual attachments will be found and removed on the show, and so much more. To find out when you can listen to Talking to Spirits with Lightworkers Tim and Justina, visit www.xzbn.net for listeners on both sides of the veil.
Welcome back, everyone. Pablo Solomon is my special guest this hour. www.pablosolomon.com. All right, so you told us a little bit about your childhood as you were you were an artistic kid who was a little scrawny growing up in Houston, and then you told us about the transition over into studying the martial arts and Zen. And when did your experiences with the martial arts and the study of Zen change? When did it become the focus of your life?
Okay, it became an equal focus with my art. You know, I've been interested in art ever since I was a small child. But it really is interesting how our lives work. You know, that's why I believe our paths laid out for us. My study of martial arts led to my getting involved in dance because I realized I was clumsy, I didn't have good timing, I didn't have good balance, all these things, and that dance would probably help me out. Plus, what a great place to meet women, you know. And so I got involved in dance, and I ended up becoming a founding teacher at the Houston Contemporary Dance Theater. I taught various martial arts type things and Tai Chi and stage martial arts and this kind of thing. And all the time I took dance to improve my own balance and coordination and limberness and all this sort of thing. And, of course, this led me to become very, very interested in dance to the point that for years and years, the major subject of my art materials have been dancers. I'm known literally around the world for my drawings and sculptures of dancers. And so that's how they started to blend. And like I said, the study of the Japanese art and just the overall philosophy, the overall mindset of simplicity and having an open mind and not having predetermined thoughts, but allowing yourself to experience the here and now, that sort of thing. All those were factors not only in my martial arts and my interest in dance and so forth, but obviously a very important factor in my art. And Rob, everything came together. It's just amazing. You know, we talk about these really unique experiences. When I'd studied martial arts like a fanatic for years. Filipino knife fighting. In fact, I trained commandos for a while. I got to be a pretty tough guy, even though I was an artist. You know, it was quite a dichotomy. But when I was 35 years old, I had a dream one night, and it changed my entire life. This dream may not mean anything to your listeners, but some may. I dreamed, I saw the sphere suspended in space. It was a crystal ball. It was lit brightly, and it was being hit by bolts of lightning as it spun, and these bolts of lightning were being deflected in different directions and so forth, and the light came on. I realized that all the martial arts that I'd studied, different types of Chinese martial arts and Japanese martial arts and Korean martial arts and blah, 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 that they all had this, could be broken down into the most simple concepts, and that is everything is either a straight line or a circular motion, and a few other little things along that line, whether you're twisting somebody's joints, whether you're throwing them, whether you're hitting them, kicking them, you can break it all down into just these basics. And all of a sudden, Rob, the light just came on. At that point, I realized that I was on my way. Now, no one ever is truly a, quote, master, and any so-called master will admit that. But I realized that I was on my way and that it was time for me to quit being like a robot learner and just learning other people's martial arts and blah, 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 but to take the basics that I'd learned from all these different systems from people all over the world and put it together with my own personality and my own flair and my own experiences and my own strengths and weaknesses. And that was a real turning point in my life. After that, it was just amazing. I had this enormous amount of confidence. I had this enormous amount of understanding. And amazingly, many, many people then would come to me for learning because I was able to project and to explain and to demonstrate some of these basic principles in a way that other people could understand and in a way that they begin to see, you know, how all movement ties together and so forth.
Why is it that you believe in today's society? I see more and more people turning to art. I see more and more people turning to spiritualism. Those who were rough and tough are now taking a different look at life. You're an artist. You're a Zen master. Tell me, why is it, in your opinion, that these changes are happening?
Well, I think if you look at even the greatest martial artist of all time. So I'm sure a number of your listeners have heard the Book of Five Rings. It was written by a Japanese swordsman, probably the greatest Japanese swordsman of all time, Musashi. And after spending an entire lifetime as being just phenomenally skillful, yet brutal and swordsman who killed numerous people in duels and battles and all this sort of thing, when he became 50 years old, he retreated to a cave and decided that it was time for him to concentrate on bringing peace and harmony to himself and to other people. And while he was there, he did the most amazing poems and the most amazing drawings. In fact, in Japanese art, and you know, the Japanese spend a lot of money even on Western art, but the most valuable, the most expensive, we're talking multi-million-dollar price tags, go to Musashi's poems and his illustrations that he did the last few years of his life. And I think as you reflect on your life, you really understand that, yes, there is a place for violence. There really is. You know, there are times you have to defend yourself, you have to defend your family, you have to defend your country, you have to defend principles and so forth. But in general, that what we really should be striving for is peace. And if we have enough strength within ourselves, and I think it takes years to get that confidence and that feeling of that you have enough strength within yourself to be gentle and to be kind and to be quiet and to not react, and maybe even turn the other's cheek literally and those sorts of things. Once you have enough understanding, self-understanding in internal strength and internal confidence and experience, then pretty soon the physical really begins to take less and less important. Once you've mastered the physical, Rob, I reached a point in my life where I knew that maybe I couldn't beat up everybody. I wouldn't want to, but nobody could hurt me. I was that skillful. I really was. It didn't matter if they had knives. I didn't care. I was that skillful. But I also began to understand that would fade. That would fade as I got older, and I also understood that one mistake, one blink of the eye, one slip, no matter how good you are, you could be dead. But I also knew that there was this let's call it afterlife or continuation of life, whatever you want to say. And in the long run, what really counted was while we were here, did we make a difference in other people's lives as far as bringing them understanding, as far as promoting peace, as far as promoting opportunity for other people, justice for other people. And I think as I've matured, my art has become more of a reflection of myself in that it's fun. You know, I used to do serious art. Now my art's more and more fun. But also my life is much more calm and much more focused on just life. I get up every day, Rob, and luckily I live out here in a beautiful part of Texas up in the hills, and we have a beautiful spring-fed creek and all this. And I can just walk around and just literally be, and I know this is a cliche, but one with nature. And now my focus in life is trying to communicate to other people the value of being harmonious with nature and harmonious with other people, and learning to have the strength and the courage to be kind and to be gentle and to be helpful and to be non-aggressive and all these sorts of things.
How has all this improved your value of life, your love for life, and the love that you have for others?
You know, I'm going to tell you a story. It was this was you talk about turning points. This dream I had was a turning point, but as far as an actual life lesson, I want to share this with your listeners, and it was a turning point in my life. For years, I had a storefront. We call them in the States, you know, like in a shopping center, but that faces a parking lot. But I had a large building that I shared with a lady who she would teach dance and things, and I taught martial arts and various things. And every morning I would go to my building and unlock it and clean it up and get everything ready for the morning class, whether it would be the ladies' dance classes or my martial arts classes or whatever. And one day I show up, and here's this guy half passed out in front of my building.
All right, you know what we're going to do? We're going to have a little bit of an old cliffhanger here because we've got to take a commercial break.
Okay,
stand by.
Hanging on for a while.
All right. Pablo Solomon is our very special guest. www.pablosolomon.com. We're talking about arts and mysticism this hour in the X Zone. If you'd like to give me a call, toll-free worldwide, 1-800-610-7035. Email xzone@xzoneradiotv.com. On MSN Messenger, xzoneradiotv@hotmail.com. Our website, www.xzoneradiotv.com. Pablo Solomon and I will be back on the other side of the news. Don't go away.
This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X-Zone Broadcast Network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365.
Pablo Solomon is my special guest this hour. Exonation, www.pablosolomon.com is his website. And Pablo, you told me that you feel like our path is predetermined. Now, before you answer this question, let's get back to that cliffhanger we left the listeners with.
Okay. Yeah, I think when we left off, I had gone to my building, and there was a fellow laying out front. And, Rob, my first reaction was, oh, my goodness, here's some bum laying out here in front of my building. These ladies are going to get here pretty soon, they're going to be embarrassed. This guy's about half out of it. He may say something or do something. Wow, what kind of martial arts guy am I not to defend my territory and defend these women from this hobo? He's got to go, And I was about ready to, grab the guy by the collar and kind of drag him off or whatever. And my neighbor, the business that was next to mine, was a barber. And the barber comes out, and before I could say or do anything with this guy that was passed out in front of my building, he kneels down to the guy and kind of picks him up, and the guy wakes up, and the barber says to him, fella, things must be going pretty bad for you to have to spend the night out here on our sidewalk. And Rob, the barber, then gets the man up, takes him to his barber shop. The guy was filthy. The barber takes him to his barber shop, washes the gentleman's hair, gives him a shave, gives him a haircut, cleans him up the best he can there, with what he had there, goes next door and buys the guy a clean set of clothes, gets on the phone, calls a guy he knows that hired day laborers, and gets the guy a job.
Wow.
And I'm standing there feeling like I should burn in hell. I'm thinking, my gosh, my whole mindset was focused on me. It was, and this guy had the real courage and the real kindness. He took the chance. He was a good Samaritan. He took the chance. He wasn't worried about his image or the image of our business. He was worried about this guy as a human being. And this was a life-changing moment for me, Rob. It humbled me. It absolutely humbled me. And it made me realize, yeah, tough guy, if you're so tough, why were you nervous or afraid or jittery about some bum sitting out there? You should have been like him, concerned about this guy as a human, and what can you do to make this guy maybe help him out? And anyhow, it was a life-changing moment.
As I was saying before I realized we had a cliffhanger, you told me earlier that you feel our path is predetermined. How do we find out what our path is? Or are we just floating along a river or the slipstream of our life? Like, how do we know?
Well, Bob, that's a good one. I think that has baffled humans from day one. And I like the analogy of the river and the slipstream. I don't know if your listeners are familiar enough with water, but I grew up around not only rivers but along the coast when I was a kid. And you have the mainstream on the river, but then oddly enough, you have what's called a slipstream, in which the water actually kind of flows upstream along the edge of the river in cases. And, I think so many of us are in the mainstream of the river, and, some people call it the highway to hell or whatever, but we're just floating right along with life and never stopping to think of where that river's going to take us, or if it's the river we should be going on, or if we're going to end up in the right body of water when it dumps into the ocean. And then others of us actually are heading upstream. We're fighting to do the right thing, but it's strictly by accident. We just kind of floated over there to the side of the river, and the slipstream's kind of taken us in away from total destruction, but it's certainly nothing that we figured out on our own. And I think that one of the greatest gifts you can have in life is to have the understanding, or at least the confidence, whether it's true or false, let's hope it's true, but to have the confidence that you found, for want of a better word, God's purpose for your life, the path that was laid out for you that's the most positive path, the path that you were born to follow, the road that you were born to be taking, and so forth. And that's why I say that if this is probably, of all the challenges for us, is to be in touch with ourselves, be in touch with God, be in touch with nature, be in touch with this, and I call it a river of knowledge that's just out there in the universe. If we can ever tap, I'm an absolute believer that everything that we really need to know on every level is out there for us if we can, open our eyes. And one of the toughest things to do, to open our eyes, is to free ourselves of fear, prejudice, hatred, preconceived notions, all these things. But if we can open up enough, then I truly, and we're sincere. You can't just want, we all verbalize we want to do the right thing, and we all verbalize we want to follow the right path and all this stuff. But, half the time we know we're lying to ourselves. We want to do what we damn well please. But if we can ever reach the point where we truly, can humble ourselves enough to say, I really do want to do what I was put on earth to do, and we actively seek it with a very humble and very, what's the word I'm looking for here, Rob? Curious mind. And we're sincere about it, I think the doors will be open. The Bible teaches, knock and it shall be open, and the whole thing. And I really do. I think once we as humans understand what our path is, and if we can ever get on it, even though we're going to fall off of it, we're going to drift off of it, But if we could, in general, follow the correct path for us, that we were put here for, our life's going to be more productive, we're going to be happier as human beings, and we're going to touch other people in a way that will help them, that'll make their lives better. It's one thing to follow a path where everything is me, me, me. Yeah, you might, that might work okay. But at some point, I think you've experienced, or I've experienced, most of your listeners have experienced, there's a real joy when you know that you came into another person's life at just the right time and just the right place, and you said or did just the right thing and made their life better.
I understand that in your times as a starving artist, and I'm just using that as a cliche, you actually read tarot cards on a beach.
Oh, boy. Here we go. Now you're in for a good one here. I still look back on this as probably one of the most bizarre and yet actually frightening experiences of my entire life. Rob, I really have. I've done everything under the sun to stay alive on my road to success as an artist. I've got to give myself credit. I've been disciplined. I've been focused. I've been tenacious. And I've done everything. But one of the craziest things, I was at a yard sale one day. I don't know if you have those in Canada.
Oh, we sure do, yeah.
And there was this old lady. I mean, we're talking old, scary.
Mm-hmm.
And she had lots of weird stuff. And she had this deck of tarot cards, and they were in. I can see the box to this day. They were in an orange box. And they had this witch on the box, this really spooky witch. And I started to, I was attracted to them. I was like drawn like a magnet, And I picked them up, and I reluctantly opened the box, and these cards were exceptionally beautiful. They were of an exceptionally high quality print, and obviously quite old, probably not, by American standards, old, probably 100 years old or something. Then I got them from this lady for like $1 or 50
Wow.
cents or something. And as I was taking them, she just said the strangest thing. She said, "Be careful, young man. They will possess you if you're not careful." And I went, "Oh, yeah, right. This old lady's playing games with me. She's screwing with my head or whatever, And so that summer, I got to go all the way from Texas. I had some friends up in New Bedford, Massachusetts, at one time the whaling capital of the world, blah, blah, blah. Up in Texas, we're used to having public beaches, free beaches. We were under Napoleonic Spanish law, Spanish and Napoleonic law are here in Texas, and so all the beaches are open to the public. You can walk hundreds of miles down the beach with no obstruction, whereas in New England, they were under British law, so they have all these private beaches, and every township has their own beach and blah, blah. Well, my buddy was a lifeguard at one of the beaches, and so while he was working, I'd be down there doing tarot card readings on the beach. And, of course, I'm 21 years old or something, thought I guess I was good looking and all this and all these hot chicks and everything. So I'm doing these tarot card readings and getting, I can't remember, $1 or something, which in those days was pretty good money because I'd been working in the oil fields for $2 an hour, 12 hours a day,
Wow.
100-degree heat.
Mm-hmm.
You have 12-hour shifts and all that for $2 an hour. And so I'm getting $1 for this card reading, man. I was making money, but I was having fun. But it began to get to me, Rob, because I'd lay out the cards and I'd start talking, and all of a sudden I'd start saying things that I didn't know where this stuff was coming from. And where it popped into my head, and all of a sudden these people would start crying, or they'd get like emotional or whatever. Oh my God, you're reading my life and all this stuff. And it was getting bizarre. It was getting to the point that I was beginning to think, uh-oh, is there something to this stuff, And honestly, I was afraid. I got afraid because I'd grown up in this multicultural background, and you have to understand, if you grow up in a Hispanic culture, there are a lot of what we call curanderos, which are healers, and there are a lot of brujas, which are witches, and so you have this sort of superstitious outlook to start off with, and I thought, oh, Lord, man, am I doing Satan's work here, or I'm possessed or something, It really scared me after a while. And so then I was going to destroy these cards. I said, oh, man, I got to get rid of these. And I couldn't do it. I couldn't get rid of them. Finally, one day I just put them down. I just put them down and walked off. I don't know who picked them up later, but I took the cowardly way out because I was actually afraid to burn them or whatever. It was bizarre, Rob. I have to tell you, one of the weirdest experiences of that sort in my entire life.
Wow. So you've done everything. You've done Zen, you've done martial arts, you've done tarot card readings. You're a painter. What is your life's goal?
Oh my goodness, that's a great question. My life goal now, I've got this wonderful wife. I've got a wonderful. We both live a wonderful life, and we both say that what we'd like to do is somehow become good enough people and so forth that will virtually, our spirits will cross to the other side in a very peaceful way. And actually, we'll stay right where we are. We love where we are. There are places in Texas that are really not pretty and really not comfortable and really ugly,
Right.
rough. Where we live now is absolutely beautiful. It's as good as it gets. And of course, the summers are rough, but if we could come back and be perpetually, eternally here in sort of the Texas springtime, it wouldn't get any better. So I think my goal is to, live my life out and touch as many people as I can in a positive way. And I'm hoping to turn out that one work of art that somebody goes, wow, that's it, buddy. That's a...
You know what? I've got some news for you. You already have turned out that piece of art, but you, my friend, don't realize it. Do you know why?
I'm afraid to guess.
Because you, sir, are that piece of art.
Well, thank you, Rob. I've never had anybody say that. That's, wow, that's a compliment. That's
Because here you've been talking to me over nearly an hour now. You've told me about the very time that you had that epiphany, that moment in your life that you realized things weren't as they were. Here you were, this martial arts master, and you were going to take on that person who was that drunk who was sleeping on the sidewalk outside of your place. And then the barber came along and showed him kindness, showed him compassion, took him in, shaved him, washed his hair, washed him off, got him a job, got him a new set of clothes. And that changed your life. And you know what? You came on international radio, gave that example so others could learn. Sir, that is what a piece of art does.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. And I do hope that helps somebody out there. I really do. When I say it changed my life, that's a very sincere and personal statement.
You and I have to take a break. We'll be back on the other side of this commercial break with our special guest, Pablo Solomon. PabloSolomon.com. Don't go away.
19 Sergeant Central. 19 Sergeant, check. Officers on the scene.
Hi, I'm Larry Lawson, host of Paranormal Stakeout. With over 36 years in law enforcement, I have learned a few things. The most important is the proper gathering and preservation of evidence is vital to putting the bad guy behind bars. It's no different in the world of paranormal investigation. Whether it's the search for the afterlife, cryptozoology, UFOs, and extraterrestrials, how we gather the evidence, preserve that evidence, and present it to a jury of our peers will make the ultimate difference in proving the existence of worlds and entities that are beyond our imagination. Join me, Larry Lawson, every week on Paranormal Stakeout when, along with my guests, we'll take a journey to prove with indisputable evidence what man has struggled to believe for centuries. Go to xzbn.net for the broadcast schedule and check me out at paranormalstakeout.com.
True healing must address 4 levels: physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual, for us to live joyful and productive lives. We tend to treat 3 of the 4, leaving the spiritual languishing. If you're tired of the same dysfunctional patterns cropping up in your life, Soul Balancing is for you. Trixie Phelps, owner and founder of Soul Balancing, is a naturally gifted energy healer trained in numerous esoteric forms, including shamanism. Trixie has created a powerful modality that safely and effectively clears your energetic field. A soul balancing session can remove interference, heal trauma, and restore your hope. Contact Trixie for a life-changing long-distance session today. www.soulbalancing.world.
You're listening to the X-Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net.
Pablo Solomon is my special guest. His website is www.pablosolomon.com. That's www.pablosolomon.com. And I was asking Pablo where people can see his art, and he said all you have to do is go to his website, contact him, and make arrangements to actually go and visit him at his home, which, by the way, X-Zone Nation, was built in 1856 by a famous Texas Ranger. Tell us a little bit about that.
Rob, it's a great story. The Texas Ranger's name was Moses Hughes, and the way he got this land, his family participated in the Texas Revolution in 1836. Everyone who participated in the Revolution got anywhere between 600 and 1,200 acres of land, and if you were a widow, you might inherit a little more, or get a little bit more in the form of a land grant. And he took his land up here, and how that happened is a great story. He had married a lady from a town near Austin, Texas, which was a little more civilized back then. Where we are, which is about 70 miles northwest of Austin, was Comanche territory. But he married a lady named Hannah Berry, whose father was very well known in Texas history because he founded a college and a town down near Austin. But he and Hannah had 2 children, and Hannah became very ill and just wasn't getting any better. Well, Moses Hughes heard from the Native Americans, the Indians up here, about springs that had healing properties. So in the early 1850s, he brought his wife up here in the hopes that she would be healed by drinking and bathing in the spring waters, which some of them are very high in sulfur. And sure enough, she got better. In fact, she got so much better, she went on to have 10 children.
Wow.
Well, the fame of the springs spread, and pretty soon a town built up around the springs, and Moses Hughes built a mill there along where the town is now. Then he took his 1,200-acre grant out where our ranch is, because the springs out here are freshwater. They don't have the sulfur taste to them. And so he began building this house in the early 1850s and finished it in 1856. It's a typical Texas pioneer home, 2-story with 2 feet thick rock walls and a 2-story porch that runs across the front of the house and so forth. And it's just a great place. My wife and I had been looking for a home in this part of Texas for years, literally years and years and years. When we walked in the door here, we knew we were home. We were here 10 minutes and bought the house, and then we spent 2 years doing nothing but working on it.
Pablo, I hate to do this, but the hour has come, my friend. You and I have to say so long for now. And I want to thank you very much for joining us. Continued success, and we look forward to the next time you and I visit here in the X Zone. X Zone Nation, Pablo Solomon has been our guest. www.pablosolomon.com. That's www.pablosolomon.com. I'll be back on the other side of this commercial break with the news as the X Zone continues. We're right here, live and around the world from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, on the Talkstar Radio Network and on the X Zone Broadcast Network. Don't go away. We'll be back after this break.